Okay, so think of the real world, but in a terrarium. This is the real story of 8 people picked to live in a man-made ecosystem for 2 years, farm their own food,
and find out what happens when people stop being polite and start getting real.
So what was Biosphere 2? In the early 1990s, a group of wealthy hippies funded a pretty incredible project in Oracle, Arizona to create a self-sustaining colony for life on another planet. Its purpose was to research ecosystems that could sustain human life in outer space if there was no planet Earth anymore. And it's called Biosphere 2 because this planet Earth is Biosphere 1. So essentially they're creating a sequel to Planet Earth, and we all know what they say about sequels. Basically they were like, can we take everything here, the rainforests, the deserts, the oceans, but put it somewhere else if shit starts to go down? And they tried just that. They designed a hermetically sealed ecosystem with over 3,000 species of plants and animals, including coral reefs, an ocean, tropical rainforests, wetlands with mango trees, and then they threw in 8 people, these 8 people in their snazzy red jumpsuits, and said, okay, go live. So these bionauts had to literally manage oceans, deserts, farm their own food, raise their own livestock, and conduct research. What could go wrong? Plenty. Here are the top 4 things that went wrong. Number 1, they were starving. The bionauts were put on a low-calorie, nutrient-dense diet consisted of about 1,700 calories a day. But you have to remember, these folks were doing essentially like hard labor, which takes us to point number 2. Because of the fatigue and sluggishness that these guys were feeling because of their hungry bellies, one of the women was chopping up her food and accidentally chopped off her finger. And the medics within the Biosphere, they were like, we got you, girl. And they sewed it back on, but then it turned black. And so they allowed her to leave to go seek additional medical attention. And so momentarily the ecosystem became unsealed, which you can't do in outer space, and kind of voided the experiment a little bit. Number 3, also a biggie, they couldn't breathe. After a year in the enclosure, oxygen levels had dropped so low that the bionauts were suffocating and the crops were suffering. And 4, they were all kind of turning orange. One crop that was succeeding was sweet potatoes, and because of its high beta-carotene content, it was giving all of the bionauts an orange glow. Unfortunately, this project was scrutinized by the scientific community, the media, and kind of ruled as a failure, but there were actually many significant takeaways from Biosphere 2. 1, they were able to manipulate the rainforest in ways that we couldn't do in the real world, like inducing a 10-week drought to see what would happen, and applying extreme heat to the tropical flora to see just what it could withstand. They were also able to study the breakdown of coral reefs and figure out ways to restore them. And lastly, what all of this shows is how important Biosphere number 1 is. This project cost about $200 million just to recreate a tiny slice of what we have here. So we got to take care of it.